Hi everybody, this is Howard, the Teaserking. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I'm off to Vegas tomorrow, so I got to do my video now. Really, this is on college, and really, this is just about the teams that have to win the game for a bowl or have a conference championship in the balance. In the games where you got two teams going for the conference championship, I generally like the underdog. They're both games. The other games with the bowl, you can't just play the team who needs to win for the bowl unless they're at least as good and they're underdogs, or it's they're at home or something. You can't just because they need the game, they're going to win it, because they've only won 5 games and they need the 6th to get to the bowl, so they're not really that good to begin with. So basically, let me walk through those teams that need the game. I'm just going to go right down the list. First game is Texas, Nebraska, Buffalo, Missouri, Tulsa, Washington, San Jose State, Kentucky, Indiana, Old Dominion, Virginia Tech, plus it's the coach's last game, Kansas State, Illinois, Minnesota. Those are the teams with 5 wins that win the game with 6. Now, those teams, I would say, yeah, you can probably bet on Texas laying 1 at home to Texas Tech. They play them well. You can probably take Nebraska as a home dog if the quarterback isn't on rape charges or whatever happened with the thing in the dorm. Buffalo against UMass. Yeah, Buffalo at home. UMass is terrible. Lost to Miami of Ohio, of all teams. Now Missouri plus 20 against Arkansas. I think that spread's a little high, but I'm not crazy about Missouri. They have no offense. You bet them under every game. Tulsa, yes, Tulsa I like to beat Tulane. They're a better team, even though on the road they should be fine. Now Washington State. You don't have a line yet, and Washington State's quarterback got hurt, but the guy who came in to replace him was very good also. And it's a lot like Baylor and TCU. Even though the starting quarterback gets hurt, it's a lot of system, Mike Leach, and that. And Washington State's looked very good. Running backs, receivers, defense. So it's not a gimme to take Washington there, unless I don't know what the spread is. Again, they're waiting for the Washington State's quarterback. But be careful there to go against Washington State. Now, if Washington State's a 10-point favorite, maybe you take Washington in 16, but I really like Washington State with or without the quarterback. Now, San Jose State against Boise, they're getting 7, kick them to 13. I don't like that at all. San Jose State's not that strong of a team. Boise has problems, but I don't. That's one where just because they need the bowl, I'm not going against Boise. Kentucky, Louisville. Yeah, you can get Kentucky as a home dog, getting 10. Yeah, that's probably a decent one. Indiana laying 7 to Purdue. I really love Indiana there. You just got to be careful. Their the great running back Howard, I think his name's Howard, is listed as questionable. So if he plays, I loved Indiana in this game, only laying 1 at Purdue. Again, a lot of these games are rivalry games. Washington State, Indiana, and Purdue are both in Indiana. Oregon State, Ohio State, Michigan. So you got a lot of rivalries going this weekend. So be careful there also. Teams play a little more emotional. That's the difference college and pro. You don't get that much emotion in the pros like you do in college. So you just be careful there. Virginia Tech laying 3.5 at Virginia. It's kind of a surprising spread. I'd have thought Virginia would have been favored there. Virginia Tech needs it for the bowl, and Beamer's, if they lose, his last game. So I think they'll do all to let him go out a winner. And it's a Beamer spread, so be careful there. I do like Virginia Tech. Big rivalry game, so just be careful there. Kansas State, Kansas. Kansas State needs it. I think they'll murder Kansas. Kansas is terrible. Kansas State likes to murder Kansas. They blow them out every year. And here they're laying 20, cut them to 14. They need a game for the bowl. I don't think Kansas State will have a problem. I mean, it's weird. You don't think they can score. They get shut out at Oklahoma and then put up 50 on TCU and put up 38 on Iowa State last week. I don't know where that came from. Next game is Illinois getting 9 from Northwestern. Yeah, probably Illinois and 9's probably. Now the game's not a home game. The game's going to be played at Soldier Field where the Bears play. So it's kind of a neutral, but they're both Illinois teams. So not the same as if Illinois is playing at home. But they're the dog there, and it's probably a good bet with Illinois. Minnesota against Wisconsin. Now this is in Minnesota. I do like Minnesota at 9 here. Wisconsin's really not that good of a team this year. And I like Minnesota at home. They played Michigan really well. Wisconsin, I don't see. I mean, they don't have much. So for them to be favored on the road, I don't understand that. Okay, so that's that. Now let's go to conference championships or conference title games. Here's a title game. Western Kentucky against Marshall. Western Kentucky's laying 10.5. Marshall's running backs out. Marshall's been playing very well lately in Wisconsin or Western Kentucky. You know how they throw up 40, 50 points a game with that offense. It's a tough one because I think the spread's a little high. If you can get Western Kentucky under 3, maybe, but I'm not sure there. I think it's a little bit of a high spread because Marshall's actually a very good team, but Western Kentucky's explosive. But as you see, Memphis goes to Temple, and Temple wins. The defense wins. And Bowling Green, Toledo, defense wins. That's what happens a lot. So Marshall's probably more of a defensive team, but not totally. And Western Kentucky's just a very explosive team. So I have to eyeball that a little bit carefully. But Western Kentucky at home probably gets the W. Navy Houston. Houston laying 1, and that is that's a title game. Whoever wins the title. I like the dog in that one. Navy killing Memphis is enough for me. Navy is a hell of a team. Houston, I mean, how could they lose to Connecticut? That's ridiculous. But I like the dog in this game. Ohio State, Michigan. If Michigan State wins, and I will guarantee you Michigan State will win, this game's really, it's just an exciting game. I'll talk about this real quick. Ohio State, Michigan. I've been watching this game since 1969. Shows you my age. The underdog wins at 99% of the time. Right now, Michigan's a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite. Sometimes they're laying 1. I love Ohio State as the dog in this game. Ohio State as the underdog is undefeated. They get really pissed off. They played like crap last week against Michigan State. They wouldn't throw the ball. Yeah, it was raining, but who cares? Come on, I mean, well, you can't, all of a sudden it rains out, you can't complete the pass, really? Michigan State secondary is terrible. They didn't take advantage of it. They played right into Michigan State's hands. They give Michigan State all the credit in the world. What's Ohio State doing on defense when the quarterback can't throw the ball and you got the backup in? If Cook was in, I guarantee you he'd have fired for 300 yards, no problem in the rain. I love the dog in this game. Ohio State will be on fire this week, so will Michigan. Matchup, unless it's pouring, and it's not supposed to. Of course, today's only Monday. Definitely like the dog. Now, if Ohio State turns into a 3-point favorite, take Michigan in 9. Right now, you got Michigan as a 1.5 to 2.5 point favorite. Take Ohio State and 8.5. You cannot lose. Ohio State beat Alabama as the dog and Oregon as the dog. Remember that. They do not like being the dog, and they will not get blown out in this game in any sense of the word. So that takes me to Michigan State needing it to clinch the conference. Now, Connor Cook, his arm must be really bothering him for him to not have played last week. I don't know if it's something that'll be better. It'll probably be better for the playoffs, but not right now. The other kid was okay. I mean, they're getting good recruits. I see Michigan State laying 1, and the spread I have Michigan State favored by 10. But the line I see is laying 1. If it's laying 1, take Michigan State all day in a teaser +5. That's a joke. There's no way Michigan State at home after beating Ohio State loses this game to Penn State. Penn State doesn't got much. They won't really hurt State secondary, and State will not lose this game. No way. Temple's playing UConn, laying 12, needed for the conference title. So Temple has to win the game. Okay, UConn beat Houston, home dog. Okay, now they got to go on the road. I think Temple kills them here. You know, it's different when you're the home dog and you pull the upset, but you're still happy about the upset. Now you go on the road and play a mean Temple team who wants it for the conference title, and Temple at home is very, very tough. Laying 12, keep them under 7. There you go. Georgia Southern's playing Southern Alabama. If Georgia Southern wins, they win the title. They're laying 20. I like Georgia Southern. They're just a very powerful team, nice running game, and they just pound it down your throat, eventually wear you out. Alabama Auburn. Alabama laying 13, must win the game for the title. They lose the game and Ole Miss wins. Ole Miss wins the SEC. So Alabama will be on fire. Auburn's terrible. It's like you lose Nick Marshall and all of a sudden you can't even play. And look how bad their defense is. They gave up 30-some points to Idaho last week. They didn't even cover a 30-point spread against Idaho. Auburn's terrible this year. Yeah, they'll play a little inspired, but Alabama's going to pound them. If you can keep it where you're laying a little less than 7, I would definitely say that. But it's for the title. Alabama must win. Now, if Alabama loses, and I don't see how they're going to lose, but if they lose, go bet the house on Ole Miss, because Ole Miss now, they're laying 1. The door's open for them now. If they win, they both have 2 losses, and since Ole Miss beat Alabama, Ole Miss will go to the championship. So you pound Ole Miss. But if Alabama wins, we're going to pound Old Mississippi State. Old Mississippi State in this series, the home teams won the last 4, and definitely love the dog, whoever it is. Now again, if Alabama loses, then all bets are off, and I got to take Ole Miss. And I would bet this game as soon as the Alabama game. If Alabama loses, the second they lose, before the spread jumps 5 points to Ole Miss, bet it. Now, if Alabama wins, then I would jump on Old Mississippi State, because then Ole Miss kind of is relaxed. They're going, okay, we can't win, and Mississippi State then, as a home dog, will definitely win. Southern Miss is playing Louisiana Tech. It's a title game. Whoever wins their conference, or their side of it. Southern Miss is a kind of a good offensive team. Louisiana Tech, a little more of a running defensive team like the New York Giants with Lawrence Taylor. I would take Louisiana Tech even here. It's a small spread. Louisiana Tech, they really shocked me last week beating the tough UTEP team 17-15. Like, what was that about? I got to check for injuries there, but if everything's clean, I like L-Tech even to win their conference. Arkansas State in the Sun Belt plays New Mexico State. They're laying 17. Arkansas State wins, they win the title. I actually love this game over. New Mexico State's been kind of an explosive team. they don't have any defense. Arkansas State's got a really good quarterback, Knightley, and they can really score. But with New Mexico State scoring a lot, kind of makes the over much more appealing. Now, I haven't seen the over yet, but I think it's out there. I like the game over, but Arkansas State needs to win. But I think the spread's too high against the pretty explosive New Mexico State team. But again, Arkansas State definitely will win the game and put up 50, 60 points here. And our last one is USC, UCLA. USC lane 3. Take the dog. Take UCLA in the 9. USC's not a very good team, but with UCLA winning at Utah, and UCLA has owned USC. I think they've won either the last 3 or the last 4. You know, Jim Mora knows how to bid this game. They know it's for all the marbles, and they just beat Utah. Rosen's growing up a lot. I think they got their running back back. UCLA starts with a P, but I can't remember it. Perkins, sorry. Take the 9 here. This is a typical USC, UCLA, take the dog. Just like Michigan, Ohio State. You just take the dog. You get UCLA in 9. It's for the South of the Pac-12, and there you go. So those are the games involving titles and bowls. Play accordingly, but you know, you might have LSU. They're laying 5 to A&M. They're not playing for anything, but it might be the coach's last game. Keep an eye on that. I still like LSU in that game because LSU's a very strong home team, and they will win that game. Some play teams who I've been tracking for this year. Southern Miss is very hot. South Florida is extremely hot. Virginia is very good against the number. North Carolina and Pitt are very good against the number. Those are the strongest against the number. Other teams that are strong but not as strong. What I gave you are teams that are either 90 or 100%. So like North Carolina's, I think it's either 9-0 or 10-0 against the line. They've covered every week. That's why I locked them last week. But I got scared when I heard it was Beamer's last home game. I kind of pulled back a little bit. And, you know, because any time in college, the coach's last game, it's, you know, even though I don't think Woody Hayes won his last game, and I'm not sure if Bear Bryant, I think he barely beat Illinois in his last game. So it's just because the coach retires or leaves doesn't guarantee a 50-point win. But it does scare you enough. And North Carolina should have won easy. They had a bunch of turnovers in the game. They played terrible. They still get the win. But those are the teams that are 100. Now, the other teams that are 80 or 85% this year, Temple, Tulsa, Arkansas, Clemson, Connecticut, Houston, Iowa, Western Kentucky, Washington State, Marshall, Memphis, Mississippi State, Notre Dame, Navy, and one that I can't read. I want to say New Mexico. I don't know. I can't read the last one. But those are the teams that have been playing well just this year. And I know in college, like I do trends in college like I do in the pros, and people ask me, do the trends work and everything? Well, you know, in college, yeah, everybody graduates. So that's why I like to do a current year trend, and then I do a 2 and a 3 year trend. It's hard to go back 5 or 6 years. There's too many changes. The coaches change. The quarterbacks obviously go, and then you can't replace them. You know, Alabama's pretty much, they've had Nick Saban. Michigan State's pretty good. They've had the same coach, D'Antonio. But look at Harbaugh comes in. My trends on Michigan are useless 3 or 4 years ago, as a lot of them are. I'll get a hot coach like the coach at Cal used to be the coach at L-Tech, and L-Tech had covered, and then so he leaves to go to Cal. Well, it took a year or two. They start covering, but L-Tech now has, you know, it's a little bit different. So it's a little bit harder. So I like to keep the current. That way you can see who's really playing well this year, because that's really what we're looking at. The play against teams, the 90 or 100% team is Rice. That's it. Rice is like 0 and 10. The other teams that are like 8 and 2 or 9 and 2 along those legs are Auburn, BC, Georgia, Hawaii, Illinois, Kansas. I can't tell if that's Kansas or... Yeah, it's Kansas. Kentucky, Louisville, LSU, and Maryland. So you can see the weak teams like Auburn, like Hawaii, Georgia's terrible this year, Kansas, you can see they don't cover either. I don't have every team. I don't have the MAC and some of the Sun Belt. I'm going to add them next year. Charlotte probably can't, get a high school team. There's some really weak teams there, but I don't have all of them yet. I'll add them next year. So that's what we're looking at for this week. I'll be at Caesars in the Venetian. If you're in Vegas, you can stop by. I'll be in the sports book or playing poker, eating and shopping. The wonderful Vegas food and amazing gifts and shops they have there, and the fountains, and walking around a lot. So anyway, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Good luck. Again, feel free to ask me comments on the games. Locks. I already have one lock out. Love it, and I'll have the Thanksgiving games. If anybody, I would say get your money in early. I do love the college and the pros. I could see already probably 3 pro locks and probably 3 college locks. I'm waiting on injuries, so I'm not really sure. Some of them I don't have a line on yet. Like South Florida UCF is a Thursday game, and I could lock South Florida if I can get a line. I have my own line is South Florida laying 17. Now, if they come out with a lower line and I can get it under 7, then it's definitely a lock. The way South Florida's playing, they're just murdering everybody. I mean, for them to put up 44 in Temple. Look at Notre Dame put up 24 in Temple, and they put up 44. I couldn't believe it. And then they put up 100 on Cincinnati last week. Again, those games were at home, and they did lose to the Navy. UCF's absolutely horrible. They've given up. The coach quit. That could be a lock at the right spread, but I don't, I haven't seen the spread. I don't know what they're waiting on. I'm not sure of any injury, but I'll take a look at that. Otherwise, you play your hot teams, North Carolina, Pitt, South Florida. I don't know. I'm not going to play Iowa. I'm not going to play, I might play Kentucky. Notre Dame, I'm up in the air on that because I don't think they're going to, I don't know that they're sure winning at Stanford. They blew the Boston College game. They gave them up 2 touchdowns. I mean, what's that about? So, anyway, that's about it. Happy Thanksgiving. Good luck to you. Again, www.teaserking.com. I have a nice time. I would buy as soon as tomorrow or Wednesday. Again, Thursday I'll be in Vegas, so just with the time change, the game starts at like 9:30 out there. So you probably want to get your, if you're going to buy, probably do it sometime Wednesday, I would say, because there's a lot of Thursday and there's a ton of Friday action. And this will be one of the weeks that I'm going to bet Thursday and then parlay it Friday and then parlay it Saturday and parlay it Sunday. It's a great week for it. I do it every year, and it's just there's so many good games to bet here. All right, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, and good luck to you.